Imagine a place that tells a story spanning centuries, where culture and nature intertwine to create something truly extraordinary. That's the beauty of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. I'm Abigail, and this is Global Treasures, the podcast that covers the history, travel tips, and legends surrounding one of the 1,248 World Heritage Sites each episode. These places have been identified as having universal cultural or natural significance that is so exceptional that it transcends national boundaries and is of importance to present and future generations. Welcome to Season 3, where we'll explore the 27 sites that UNESCO added in 1980 together. Thank you as always for listening to the podcast. I appreciate all of your support, and you can continue to support the podcast by subscribing at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, or your favorite platform. You can also follow us on TikTok and Facebook. You can check out my blog on globaltreasurestravel.com for even more travel tips and to hear about my latest adventures. The Fortifications and the Caribbean Side of Panama, Portobelo-Fort San Lorenzo, are an incredible testament to the power of the Spanish Empire during the 17th and the 18th centuries. Located on the Atlantic coastline of the Colón province, these military constructions were designed to defend and protect Spain's transatlantic trade routes and ward off naval attacks from rival powers and pirates who threatened their riches acquired in the New World. The two main sites, Portobelo and San Lorenzo, sit about 50 or so miles apart, strategically positioned to safeguard different points along the Panama coast. Portobelo provided security for the Caribbean section of the harbor, while San Lorenzo guarded the mouth of the Chagres River, the largest river in the Panama Canal's drainage basin. This location was critical for Spain's trade network, as it allowed them to move gold and silver from South America efficiently without relying on land routes that became nearly impossible to navigate during the rainy season. What makes these fortifications remarkable is that they were constructed in the dense tropical jungle long before modern technology existed. This demonstrated remarkable engineering skills prior to the invention of bulldozers and cranes. The story of this region, however, began much earlier, so let's start from the beginning. All the way back in 1502, Christopher Columbus, the infamous Italian explorer, was caught in a storm, landing on the Isthmus of Panama. While taking refuge, he named the area Portobelo, meaning beautiful port. But it wasn't until 95 years later that the town of San Felipe de Portobelo was officially established. Over time, Portobelo grew into one of the most important Spanish establishments in the New World. As I stated before, it became a major hub for Spanish conquistadors. These were colonizers who explored, traded, and conquered territories across the Americas, Africa, Asia, and so on. The port served as a storage point for gold and silver looted from the Americas before it was shipped back to Spain. This immense wealth was the reason Portobelo became one of the most heavily fortified Spanish coastal control points. This immense wealth was the reason Portobelo became one of the most heavily fortified Spanish coastal control points in the entire Western Hemisphere. Following constant pirate attacks, the Spanish treasury was moved to Portobelo, and the fort of San Felipe was constructed at the entrance of the harbor. It was armed with 35 cannons, and the walls built from coral stone, an incredibly durable material. Even when pirates occupied the city for a month in 1668, the fortifications suffered minimal damage, a tribute to their incredible craftsmanship and strategic design. The fortifications continued to expand, with the final construction wrapping up in 1753. After the country of Panama gained independence, Spain abandoned Fort San Lorenzo in the 1820s, leaving it to gradually deteriorate. Over time, the site found not just a second life, but a third and fourth as well, serving as a prison, then a post office, and finally, a haven for gold prospectors during the 1840s gold rush. Eventually, recognizing the fortifications' historical and architectural significance, the government of Panama undertook restoration efforts to preserve them. It's incredible to think these open fortified towns were destroyed and rebuilt more times than one can fathom. Yet, they still echo the legacy of a world once shaped by exploration and the unrelenting quest for wealth. As someone who loves to explore, I hope now that you have the history you're excited to visit. I always want traveling to feel like an unfinished journey because there will always be more to see. But I'll provide some travel tips and suggestions, as well as links in the show notes, to hopefully make planning your trip a bit easier. When planning your visit, you'll probably want to use the weather as your guide. Panama is hot year-round, with highs in the mid-90 degrees Fahrenheit and around 70 degrees Fahrenheit being the lowest temperature. Certain times of year get significant rainfall, so the best time to visit is between December and April. Otherwise, pack a poncho and/or an umbrella. Since this site is completely outdoors and in a tropical environment, be sure to wear rain boots or waterproof shoes. Just something comfortable. Sandals or flip-flops are not recommended. This site is also a great place for photography, so bring your camera if you don't rely on your phone, and perhaps plan to put the picnic tables to good use. You will get a truly stunning view. So, getting to these fortifications requires a bit of planning, as they're located a couple hours from Panama City, which is where most travelers choose to stay. If you're flying in from another country, you'll want to fly into Panama City's Tucumán International Airport. From the city, you can grab a taxi, public bus, or rideshare, as many of the rideshare companies we know of in North America and Europe are available. When it comes to keeping stress to a minimum, especially regarding transportation and logistics, booking a day tour or joining a cruise ship excursion is often the easier option. It may not be as cheap, but they'll make sure you get to multiple sites, and you can ensure they speak your native language. Speaking of which, while some English is spoken, especially in the touristy areas, quote-unquote, having a language translation app is recommended if you don't speak Spanish fluently. If you go solo, you can expect inexpensive or no admission fees to enter. For scheduling transportation, if you use a taxi or rideshare and you're staying at a hotel, they may be able to recommend a taxi company. It would be ideal if you can find one that will wait while you explore the sites. Many will agree to a set fee for this. You can probably expect to spend an hour or two at most, time-wise. In terms of accommodations, you'll find plenty of homestay and hotel options to choose from, both in Panama City and closer to the sites. One thing that I've started doing is if I'm staying at a large chain hotel, for example, and if I'm at a hotel that is a concierge, I let them know if I'm traveling alone to stay safe. Just a tip. Once you've visited, you may wonder, what else can I see? So many things is the answer, but I will plug 2 museums and sites. First, the town of Portobelo features a museum that's inside the historic custom house, which was damaged all the way back in 1744. I am, of course, going to also mention that there is another UNESCO World Heritage Site nearby, the archaeological site of Panama Viejo. This is another Spanish settlement that, no surprise, was destroyed by a pirate attack. And of course, no trip is complete without trying the national dish of Panama, sancocho. This delicious chicken soup is slow cooked with vegetables, yams, yuca, which is a starchy tuber similar to yams, and corn. It's sometimes served with rice as well, making it the perfect comforting meal after a long day of exploring. Today, the ruins of the fortifications of Portobelo and San Lorenzo serve as a testimony of how a violent history, one that fostered colonization and piracy, can also birth beautiful neoclassic and medieval architecture. While you cannot see it in its full splendor, and you have to use your imagination a bit, you can see all of the ways that the buildings reflect the beliefs, customs, and social institutions of the time. They will forever stand as enduring symbols of human ingenuity and perseverance. Thank you again for listening to Global Treasures. Join me for our next episode, where we'll dive into the history and travel tips for yet another one-of-a-kind World Heritage Site. Until then, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep treasuring the remarkable diversity of our world's heritage.